a WikiVidi Documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Asia Bibi blasphemy case. The Asia Bibi blasphemy case involves Pakistani Christian woman Aasiya Noreen, who was convicted of blasphemy by a Pakistani court and was sentenced to death by hanging in 2010. In October 2018, the Supreme Court of Pakistan acquitted her based on insufficient evidence, though she will not be allowed to leave Pakistan until the verdict has been reviewed, a process that can take years. In June 2009, Noreen was accused of blasphemy after an argument with co-workers while harvesting berries. She was subsequently arrested and imprisoned. In November 2010, a Sheikhupura judge sentenced her to death by hanging. The verdict was upheld by Lahore High Court and received worldwide attention. Various petitions for her release were created by organizations aiding persecuted Christians such as Voice of the Martyrs, including one that received 400,000 signatures, and Pope Benedict XVI and Pope Francis called for the charges to be dismissed. She received less sympathy from her neighbors and Islamic religious leaders in the country, some of whom adamantly called for her to be executed. Minorities Minister Shahbaz Bhatti and Punjab Governor Salman Taseer were both assassinated for advocating on her behalf in opposing the blasphemy laws. Noreen's family went into hiding after receiving death threats, some of which threatened to kill Noreen if released from prison. Muslim cleric Maulana Yusuf Qureshi announced a bounty to anyone who would kill her. On the 31st of October 2018, the Supreme Court of Pakistan acquitted Noreen citing material contradictions and inconsistent statements of the witnesses, which cast a shadow of doubt on the prosecution's version of facts. The decision sparked protests headed by Islamist parties in major cities of the country. The decision was praised by human rights groups and those advocating on behalf of Christian minorities, such as International Christian Concern, Open Doors, and Aid to the Church in Need. On the 2nd of November 2018, however, the government of Pakistan signed an agreement with the Tehreek-e-Labbaik political party, which was leading the protests. This agreement barred Asia Bibi from leaving the country. This agreement between the government of Pakistan and Tehreek-e-Labbaik has led to allegations that the government was capitulating to extremists. The governments of Italy, Canada, and other Western countries are currently working to help Asia Bibi leave Pakistan. On the 7th of November 2018, Asia Bibi was released from the new jail for women in Multan. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs denied that she had left the country and said that she remains in Pakistan. The blasphemy law in Pakistan has resulted in the killing of over 60 people due to accusations, as well as dozens of communal attacks which have taken place against religious minorities on the pretext of blasphemy, and has been used by individuals as a tool for revenge against other people. Noreen was the first woman in Pakistan to be sentenced to death for blasphemy, and would have been the first person in Pakistan to be executed for blasphemy under the current law. Background and arrest. Aasiya Noreen was born and raised in Itanwali, a small, rural village in the Sheikhupura district of Punjab, Pakistan, 30 miles outside of Lahore. Poor Christians in the district, and elsewhere in Pakistan, often have lower-class occupations such as cleaning and sweeping. Noreen, who is a Catholic, worked as a farmhand in Sheikhupura to support her family. She married a Sheikh Masi, a brick laborer who had 3 children from a previous marriage, and had 2 more children with him. Noreen and her family were the only Christians in the village. Before her incarceration, she had been repeatedly urged by her fellow workers to convert to Islam. In June 2009, Noreen was harvesting falsar berries with a group of other women farmhands in a field in Sheikhupura. She was asked at one point to fetch water from a nearby well. She complied, but stopped to take a drink with an old metal cup she had found lying next to the well. A neighbor of Noreen, Muzarat, who had been involved in a running feud with Noreen's family about some property damage, saw her and angrily told her that it was forbidden for a Christian to drink water from the same utensil from which Muslims drink, and that some of the other workers considered her to be unclean because she was a Christian, referring to the caste system in Pakistan. Noreen recounts that when they made derogatory statements about Christianity and demanded that she convert to Islam, She responded, "I believe in my religion and in Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for the sins of mankind. What did your Prophet Muhammad ever do to save mankind? And why should it be me that converts instead of you?" An argument ensued. A mob came to her house, beating her and members of her family before she was taken away by the police. The police initiated an investigation about her remarks, resulting in her arrest under Section 295C of the Pakistan Penal Code. In an interview with CNN, local police officer Muhammad Ilyas claimed that Noreen said that the Quran is fake and your prophet remained in bed for 1 month before his death, because he had worms in his ears and mouth. He married Khadija just for money and after looting her kicked her out of the house. Village Imam Qari Muhammad Salim, to whom Noreen's co-workers reported the alleged blasphemy, claimed that Noreen confessed to him and apologized. On the other hand, the Asian Human Rights Commission published a letter that stated she was subsequently imprisoned for over a year before being formally charged. Prosecution and imprisonment. Noreen denied that she had committed blasphemy and said that she had been accused by her neighbor to settle an old score. In November 2010, Muhammad Naveed Iqbal, a judge at the court of Sheikhupura, Punjab, sentenced her to death by hanging. Additionally, a fine of the equivalent of $1,100 was imposed. With the verdict, she became the first woman condemned to death in Pakistan on blasphemy charges. Noreen described the day of her sentencing as follows. Noreen's husband, a Sheikh Masi, 51 years old at the time, announced that he planned to appeal the verdict, which has to be upheld by the Lahore High Court. A month later, Salman Taseer, the governor of Punjab who investigated the affair for the President Asif Ali Zardari, stated that Noreen would most likely be pardoned if the High Court did not suspend the sentence. Zardari was poised to grant pardon, but the High Court issued a stay order against potential presidential pardon, which remains in force to date. Court transcripts show numerous inconsistencies in the evidence presented, and reporters say they dare not repeat Bibi's testimony lest they also be accused of blasphemy. Noreen was put in solitary confinement in an 8x cell without windows at the Lahore prison. Before his assassination, Taseer visited her at the jail several times with his wife, Amna, and daughter, Shabano, though Pakistani court officials later ruled that she could be visited only by her husband and lawyer, Khalid Sheikh. The prison superintendent said that while he wanted her to be treated like any other prisoner, she had to be kept away from other inmates for her own well-being, as other individuals accused of blasphemy had been killed while in prison. Out of concern that she could be poisoned, prison officials began giving Noreen raw materials to cook her own food. The Meiji Foundation, a human rights group, described her physical condition as very frail, and her health was reported to be in decline due to poor living conditions at the jail. She has also been threatened by other inmates and subjected to physical abuse from prison guards. According to Human Rights Watch, Noreen's situation is not unusual. Though no one has been executed for blasphemy yet in Pakistan, the accused often remain imprisoned for a long time while the case is being processed. In May 2014, Noreen's appeal hearing was delayed for the 5th time. Local reaction. Noreen's conviction led to divided opinions on the blasphemy laws and drew strong reactions from the public. Pakistani Human Rights Watch researcher Ali Dayan Hussain said, "The law creates this legal infrastructure which is then used in various informal ways to intimidate, coerce, harass and persecute." He further described the law as discriminatory and abusive. Punjab Governor Salman Taseer and Pakistan's Minority Affairs Minister Shahbaz Bhatti both publicly supported Noreen, with the latter saying, "I will go to every knock for justice on her behalf, and I will take all steps for her protection." She also received support from Pakistani political scientist Rasul Baksh Rais and local priest Samson Dilawar. The imprisonment of Noreen left Christians and other minorities in Pakistan feeling vulnerable, and liberal Muslims were also unnerved by her sentencing. The general population was less sympathetic towards Noreen. Several signs were erected in Sheikhupura and other rural areas declaring support for the blasphemy laws, including one that called for Noreen to be beheaded. Muhammad Salim, a member of the Jamiat-ul-Ulama-e-Pakistan party, organized a demonstration in Rawalpindi and led a small crowd chanting, "Hang her, hang her." In December 2010, a month after Noreen's conviction, Maulana Yusuf Qureshi, the Muslim cleric of the Mohabbat Khan Mosque in Peshawar, announced a 500,000 Pakistani rupee bounty to anyone who would kill her. One survey reported that around 10 million Pakistanis had said that they would be willing to personally kill her out of either religious conviction or for the reward. The village mosque in Itanwali was reportedly indifferent towards Noreen's plight. Its imam, who helped register the case against her, Qari Muhammad Salim, stated that he had wept for joy on learning that she had been sentenced to death and threatened that some people would take the law into their own hands should she be pardoned or released. However, journalist Julie McCarthy suggested that the country's more peaceful majority views had been overshadowed by the more vocal fundamentalists. Noreen's family has received threats and has gone into hiding. A sheikh, her husband, stated that he was afraid to let their children go outside. He also expressed concern about how Noreen would be kept safe should she be released, saying, "No one will let her live. The mullahs are saying they will kill her when she comes out." Her family declined to leave the country while she remained in prison, but Italy, France, and Spain all offered to grant her and her family asylum in the event of her release. Assassinations of Taseer and Bhatti. On the 4th of January 2011, at Kozar Market of Islamabad, Governor of Punjab Salman Taseer was assassinated by Malik Mumtaz Hussain Qadri, a 26-year-old member of his security team, because of his defense of Noreen and opposition to the blasphemy law. Mumtaz Qadri was sentenced to death for the assassination and hanged on the 29th of February 2016. Taseer was outspoken in his criticism of the law and the verdict in Noreen's case. The next day, thousands turned up for the governor's funeral in Lahore in spite of warnings by the Taliban and some clerics, while a portion of the Pakistani population also praised Qadri as a hero. Thousands of Sunni Muslims rallied in support of the blasphemy laws in Pakistan after the murder, and 500 Belvi clerics prohibited their followers from sending condolences to the family of Taseer. This resulted in concerns that the public was becoming tolerant of extremists. Prison officials said that Noreen wept inconsolably on learning of Taseer's assassination while repeatedly saying, "That man came here, and he sacrificed his life for me." Father Andrew Nizari, a senior Catholic spokesperson in Lahore, described the situation as utter chaos. 7 months later, Taseer's 28-year-old son, Shahbaz, was kidnapped. Shahbaz Taseer was later found or released in March 2016, and he returned to Lahore on the 9th of March after 5 years in captivity. Minority Affairs Minister Shahbaz Bhatti said that he was first threatened with death in June 2010 when he was told that he would be beheaded if he attempted to change the blasphemy laws. In response, he told reporters that he was committed to the principle of justice for the people of Pakistan and willing to die fighting for Noreen's release. On the 2nd of March 2011, Bhatti was shot dead by gunmen who ambushed his car near his residence in Islamabad, presumably because of his position on the blasphemy laws. He had been the only Christian member of Pakistan's cabinet. International response. Noreen's death sentence drew international outrage and strong condemnation from non-governmental organizations defending persecuted Christians, as well as human rights groups such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, who saw the blasphemy laws as a form of religious persecution and called for them to be abolished. Pope Benedict XVI publicly called for clemency for Noreen. In his statement, he described his spiritual closeness with Noreen and urged that the human dignity and fundamental rights of everyone in similar situations be respected. Her case also achieved extensive media coverage, and American journalist John L. Allen Jr. wrote that she is almost certainly the most famous illiterate Punjabi farm worker and mother of 5 on the planet. According to Allen, she has become a celebrity among Christian activists, an unusual instance when cases of discrimination against Christian minorities typically receive little attention in the press. A number of campaigns have been organized to protest her imprisonment through online petitions, Twitter trends, and concerts. Uberfuse, a Christian pop band based in the United Kingdom, collaborated with the British Pakistani Christian Association and released a song titled Free Asia Bibi, with a music video that included a disturbing visual portrayal of the squalid prison conditions where Bibi is being held. She has also been the subject of books and documentaries. One petition created by the Voice of the Martyrs, an organization aiding persecuted Christians, received over 400,000 signatures from individuals from over 100 countries. Another petition, organized by the American Center for Law and Justice, obtained over 200,000 signatures and called for America's aid to Pakistan to stop whilst persecution of minorities is allowed in the country. Umar al-Qadri, an Islamic cleric in Ireland, called for Noreen's release and stated he would back organizations wishing the same, holding that Asia Bibi is a case where the lady is denying that she committed blasphemy, and based on that it would be sufficient for the court to release her. But unfortunately that particular law, the blasphemy law in Pakistan, does not represent the true Islamic teaching. Appeals. On the 16th of October 2014, the Lahore High Court dismissed Noreen's appeal and upheld her death sentence. On the 20th of November 2014, her husband appealed to the President of Pakistan for clemency. On the 24th of November 2014, her lawyer appealed to the Supreme Court of Pakistan. On the 22nd of July 2015, the Supreme Court suspended Bibi's death sentence for the duration of the appeals process. In November 2015, Bibi's lead attorney, Naeem Shakir, announced that, after two postponements in 2015, the Lahore High Court would hear an appeal in Bibi's case on the 26th of March 2016. The hearing was rescheduled for the 13th of October 2016. But on that morning, when it was the turn of the case, Asia Bibi against the state, one of the three members of the bench of judges of that section, Iqbal Hamija Rahman, refused to be part of the bench, which led to the postponement of the hearing to an undetermined date. The judge later resigned in a handwritten letter addressed to Mamnoon Hussain, the President of Pakistan, without stating any specific reasons for his resignation. On the 26th of April 2017, Chief Justice of Pakistan Mian Saqib Nisa declined a request for the early hearing of the case of Asia Bibi in the first week of June made by her lawyer Saiful Malook. Supreme Court acquittal. On the 8th of October 2018, a three-judge bench comprising CJP Mian Saqib Nisa, Justice Asif Saeed Kosar and Justice Mazhar Alam reserved its judgment on the final legal appeal. On the 31st of October 2018, the Supreme Court, in a 56-page detailed judgment authored by CJP Nisa, with a separate concurrent opinion note from Justice Kosar, acquitted Asia Bibi of blasphemy charges after accepting her 2015 appeal against her sentence. The court also ruled that she was free to go, if not wanted in connection with any other case. In his verdict, Judge Asif Saeed Khan Kosar noted, the final judgment said that one of Noreen's accusers violated the Ashti name of Muhammad, a covenant made by Muhammad with Christians in the 7th century, but still valid today. Judge Kosar also stated that the two women who made accusations against Noreen had no regard for the truth and that the claim that she blasphemed Muhammad in public was a concoction incarnate. The Supreme Court of Pakistan's ruling cited material contradictions and inconsistent statements of the witnesses that cast a shadow of doubt on the prosecution's version of facts. Asia Noreen was reading the Christian Bible when she heard the news, upon which exclaimed, "I can't believe what I am hearing. Will I go out now? Will they let me out, really? I just don't know what to say. I am very happy, I can't believe it." Noreen's daughter Aisha Mashik said that the news of the acquittal was the most wonderful moment in my life. I want to hug my mother and then celebrate with my family. I am grateful to God for listening to our prayers. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?